Hello, welcome back to the channel. It's been a while since my last review, and that is because I kind of gave up on the modern cinema after Godzilla Minus One reminded me what it's like to watch a decent new film. But earlier today I had to sit through Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga, and I would really like to share with you my thoughts on it. Furiosa is a parody of Mad Max Fury Road. Furiosa's writing is non-existent, along with overwhelming amounts of CGI, abundance of nonsensical events and characters, and maybe 2 funny and decent scenes. If you go back to Mad Max Fury Road, that movie was also poorly written. Heck, that movie was barely about Mad Max himself. It was almost all about Furiosa, but whatever, the action sequences, automotive creativity and decent charisma made that movie worth watching and rewatching many times over and over. And however little of Mad Max we got there, Tom Hardy delivered the character flawlessly. If you, like me, are a fan of the franchise and the Fury Road, you probably were left hoping for more after the Fury Road. But what have you been wanting to see? Was it the backstory of Immortan Joe and his entourage? Was it the life and adventures of Max with him as a main character in this wasteland setting? Or many other interesting things we saw glimpses of in the Fury Road? How far down the list was Furiosa's backstory? It wasn't even on the list for me. This movie does not have the saving grace of Fury Road. Gritty and spectacular action scenes have been replaced with shoddy CGI sequences that are also much closer to the viewer, so much smaller in scale. Any new rig or vehicle is a parody and is arguably lesser than what we've already seen. The plot and writing is something I gave up caring about somewhere around 10 minutes into the movie, and let me explain why. Furiosa and friend are out and about collecting fruit in their green place. A gang of bikers come around and slaughter a horse near them. Somehow Furiosa or her friend do not hear the bikers arrive, or the horse die and the bikers don't see the kids. But whatever. Instead of escaping back to their homes, Furiosa decides to go on the offensive and sabotage their bikes. And she knows exactly how to do that too. She gets caught, but she blows her predator whistle, which can be heard at her camp by other people, who, by the way, also did not hear the arrival of bikes and the death of the horse, which I assume was shot. The bikers try to escape with Furiosa, and fearsome Amazonian ladies give chase. They easily snipe one of the riders and grab their bike. Their main goal is not letting the word about this place out, and I guess saving the child too. And both of these things are so vital to them that they of course have absolutely no lookouts or other means of transportation in this little haven settlement. While perfectly knowing and just judging by their level of individual preparation about the dangers and rumors of the wasteland. The little glimpse of the settlement shows many people, but why are women specifically like Amazonians? Why not a mix? Why not men? What's the lore here? We go back to the pursuit. Furiosa somehow manages to bite through a fuel line on the bike, which is absolute bullshit. At least make the line not metal mesh covered, like something weathered and dried out, just lazy and obvious. Then she attempts to escape, while the dudes just look silly and the entire scene is lazily orchestrated. Her mother finds the 2 bikers with Furiosa when they are close to the camp. Shoots one, but somehow the other one who escapes does not raise alarm upon arrival. The Mentos is portrayed as a mad doctor, sure, a great idea, but once again he seems to be poorly executed and written. But mostly he's one of the very few decent parts of this movie. Mother comes into the camp under the very convenient cover of the storm, and kills 2 hardened horde riders, and has mercy in her heart to not kill the lady watching the child. Why not at least die and gag her up? Also, her mother was using a slingshot with metal balls that one of the dudes was juggling earlier. How did she manage to figure out that was his weapon after killing him just a few seconds ago? picking up the metal balls that should have been dropped on the sand and using it against the other dude. Anyway, they ride out and the spared lady raises alarm. One of the guys shoots a gas tank covering Mom's back, which sets her on fire, with gas mind you, and there is also zero shockwave from the explosion. I guess the director didn't need one at the time and ordered physics cancellation. You see, that opening sequence alone, and there are many standalone sequences to this film, makes as much sense as a Lance Stroll in an F1 car. But also, these storylines are just completely discombobulated. There is pretty much nothing that drives the overall plotline except for the time. The Immortan Joe in his entourage are shown as imposing yet deeply flawed characters. Flawed in a kind of way that cannot be fixed. Genes, inbreeding, natural selection, whatever. While women, and especially Furiosa, are flawless. They can do anything and everything at any point in time and do it perfectly. I bet when you watch this movie, if not already, you'll be anticipating the scene where she loses her hand. You would think she loses it through getting caught or some fault of her own. Let me disappoint you here, she loses it heroically and in a manner that took a real-life individual over 100 hours to achieve. And even that super fancy prosthetic she gets is not provided by some mysterious craftsman. No, she pretty much sources and finishes it off on her own. Reminds me of Ray quite a bit. Only one man in this film is used as a positive character, a Praetorian for Immortan Joe who takes Furiosa under his wing. But even he is made into an absolute wimp. He desperately loves her, which is obvious, but he also is made look somehow more feminine than Furiosa did in Fury Road. I mean, what the actual fuck? The final straw of nonsense in this film for me was when Dementos takes over the bullet farm and in an attempt to capture the war rig, shit goes down hard in there. Before this, it is clearly stated that his intention is to take over the Citadel for the resources. So why in the hell would he pursue Furiosa and her lady friend? There is literally nothing for him to gain out of that. This chase had no way of furthering his goals at the time, and while mad, he is clearly not stupid. But also earlier in the movie, why Dementos and his horde simply go on living and not get the information from the child about the green place? How does this information get forgotten? Is the green place not the ultimate bounty for them? Anyway, the chase is also just horribly executed. Somehow his 6x6 with almost entirely worn out tread on those monster truck tires climbs up a 30 or 40 degree hill and dirt bikes fall. Oh, and on the return trip, Furiosa climbs the same hill, riding a dirt bike, and doing that one-handed while the Dementos' goons fall down once again. Just fuck off. There are no sequences, scenarios, or events in this film that make sense. It is also just some basic regurgitation of the ideas from the other film and agenda pushing. There are maybe 2 or 3 funny scenes involving Dementos, and kudos to Chris Hemsworth for trying to act. While having the exact same facial expressions or set of moves, he still brings some of the least intolerable scenes in this film. Tom Hardy had probably 1,000 times fewer lines in the last movie and much less screen time, but did a million times better job portraying and capturing the character. But even Dementos gets put down by the flawless Furiosa, very weirdly, I guess, at the end of the film. I mean, having a tree grow out of your dick is a hell of a way to live. Also, what's up with the maggot obsession in this film? It is also too badly done, the CGI just sucks. Check out dozens if not hundreds of 90s sci-fi and horror films, each one had a better way of showing maggots in a super realistic and creepy way. I don't really have anything to say about Anya Taylor-Joy as Furiosa. If you think Hemsworth is a plain actor, well, you're in for a treat. Her face somehow managed to not show a single emotion throughout the entire movie. I guess models really don't want those wrinkles, and while having beautiful eyes, you once again only need to look back to Tom Hardy in Dunkirk to see what kind of acting can be done using only one's eyes. Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga, is a bad movie. It makes no sense, it has zero entertainment value, and it is very boring. If you're a fan of the original Fury Road and have a couple hours to spare, I would recommend you rewatch that in black and chrome edition. It is quite spectacular. If you like this video, be sure to leave a like, and if you really do, subscribe and get notified whenever a new video goes up. That is all I have to share with you today. Goodbye.